I didn't have the answer to so many different things. I'm trying to do marketing by myself. I'm trying to run ads by myself. I'm trying to do the website by myself. Like, there's so many different things that I was doing, and it was getting very overwhelming. So, and I didn't know if I was being ripped off or not. But he completely lost his identity, like even to the point where I was kind of like, what am I doing here? You know, but like I said, I've learned from every single launch. I'm 30 years old. I've been on one holiday my whole life, and I haven't had the ability to do that because every single penny that I've had, I've put into the business.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
My name is Dipon. I'm from East London, and I'm the founder of a brand called Sabrluxe, which is a modest wear brand. I was the personal trainer at the gym, and I noticed a lot of Muslim women in general who wanted to dress more modestly to the gym would come in like oversized tops or big hoodies and jackets. And I noticed that that was quite of a trend with a lot of the gyms that I was at, because I would train at many different gyms. So what I done was I went home and then I googled modest active wear for women, and I noticed that there wasn't much out there, to be honest. There was hardly anything. I could only find like 3 or 4 brands, and the brands that I did find, they wasn't that good, to be honest. As in, the looks wise, it didn't look that great. The price point was really high because maybe they felt like they're the only sort of competition, so they put their price point really high, making it quite unaffordable for a lot of people. And I just felt like, you know what, I think I've got a little gap in the market here that I can go, and if I market it correctly and do things right, I feel like I can take over this market. And that's sort of what led me down making Sabrluxe. So the name was actually first called Patience Wear. And the word patience is because it was gym orientated. So people were buying the gym wear, and you need patience in the gym to see difference in your body. It doesn't happen overnight or over weeks. It takes months, if not years. So I wanted something that would relate to people when they buy it. So they're buying something and it takes patience. So that was sort of the idea behind that. Well, the first step to starting a clothing brand, you first got to ask yourself, what's unique about my product? I think a lot of people would answer that question with, oh, maybe I need to look for the right manufacturer or the right factory and whatnot. And it's like, no, you need to first know, is your product going to actually sell? What's unique about your product? Are you just going to create a hoodie and have a logo in there? And how many other brands do that? How are you going to separate yourself from the pack? So that's the first thing that you have to ask yourself is, what is my USP? What's my unique selling point about my product? And the answer can't be quality, because everybody says quality, my quality, my quality. It's got to be something else more than quality. Like for me, was the lack of competition. There was hardly any other brands doing it. They wasn't marketing it great. They didn't have a big following on social media, and the pricing was set way too high. So I felt like I could come in, make it more affordable, get the name out there, make it bigger by using marketing and whatnot. No, you don't. That's, to be honest, that's one of the first doubts that I first had when I first started the brand. I was like, I don't know anything about fashion. You know, how am I going to start a fashion brand without not knowing anything about fashion? So I remember buying books and trying to read books and understand it, but because I didn't have a background of it, it just didn't make much sense to me. And what I was doing was I was overcomplicating it in my head, when all it was just, hey, I've got a vision of what I want my product to look like. So is there any fashion designers that can help me out with sketches? So that was the first thing I looked for. I had one of my clients actually, who I used to train in the gym, hooked me up with a fashion designer, and she then first started out doing the sketches and all of that stuff with me, which I then sent to the manufacturer, and I was able to make samples. So I didn't know anything about fashion myself or how to sketch or anything like that, but somebody else did and they helped me do it. So you don't need to know, you just need to find somebody else that can do it. Via TikTok, via Instagram, having really good creatives that's going to catch people's attention, because people's attention span is getting lower and lower each and every year. What used to work 2 years ago that would stop people from scrolling does not work anymore. and that changes every year. Remember, you've only got about 0.5 to 1 second to stop somebody from scrolling. So you need to make sure that your marketing campaigns are really, really good. I've seen it so many times and so often, so many brands that are spending so much money on their marketing, and they're not getting to the point in their adverts. It's like the first 5 to 10 seconds, and they're taking this long build up. I'm sure about 95% people have already skipped through that. So you've got to find really good, I call it a scrolling stopper. So something that will stop people from scrolling, and that's what you've got to aim for, to be honest. Really, really good marketing skills. If you don't feel like you have that, you can always find marketing agencies who can help you with stuff like that. But Instagram and TikTok and running meta ads, when you've got content that's doing well already via organically, you can then transform that into meta ads. So have somebody who does Facebook ads for you and really push out that content more and get the sales like that. Oh, it depends on the person's funds. Most people won't have the funds, especially if you're a starting out small business, to start with a team. It doesn't work like that. Most people build a team after many, many years and when the business goes into profit. But at the start, it's mainly just you, yourself, and I. And that's how it was for me at the start. And it was so tough because, like I said, I didn't know anything about fashion. So I was just constantly watching YouTube videos and reading books and trying to learn all this stuff by myself. And I made so many mistakes. And so is whoever is thinking of starting a new business. You're going to make so many mistakes, which is going to cost you a lot of money, but you're just going to have to take the L and learn from them. And I've learned with every single launch that I've had of my clothing brand now, I've learned so many different things throughout my launches. My advice to people would be, you can bring people on board without blowing your budget. You can find people on Fiverr from different countries around the world who can help with these things. And this is something that I didn't know at the start. I only found out afterwards. And there was a lot of things that I didn't know how much it would cost, and I didn't know if I was being ripped off or not, because I just didn't know what it was beforehand, because I've never been in business before to know like that. So that was the trickiest part. But like I said, I've learned from every single launch, and now I have a much better understanding now. So now I can really see why people go for mentors. Like, let's say, for example, you wanted to start a clothing brand, or somebody watching wanted to start a clothing brand, and they came to me for advice. I could save them so much money and so much time because I've already gone through that and I know exactly what to do now. I didn't have that. I didn't have a mentor. I definitely didn't have the money for a mentor. So I had to make mistakes myself and learn the hard way. This brand lost its identity at one point at a time. So it started off as a gymwear brand, and then we've done modest formal smartwear, and then he went into abayas, and then we started doing swimwear. So customers were coming in and logging onto my website and not knowing, like, is this a gymwear brand? Is this a abaya brand? Like, it completely lost its identity, like, even to the point where I was kind of like, what am I doing here? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, scrap all of this. I need to focus on one market and I need to dominate that market. So I was like, I've let everything else go and I'm just focusing on the swimwear at the moment. I'm 30 years old, been on one holiday my whole life, because everything I have spent on my business. So you've got to be willing to sacrifice going on holidays and going out with mates and buying new things and all of this stuff, because business costs a lot of money. And it's that risk that you're taking as well, because you might not get any reward at the end of it. It might not work. But that's what it is. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you've got to be willing to make that sacrifice. And people hearing that now, some people will be like, nah, that's too much of a sacrifice for me. I need my holidays. I need to have money in my savings. I need to get married and start a family, and I'd rather focus on that. So that wipes out so much of the population already. But then there'll be a few 5% or maybe even 1% that are watching that will be like, I'm willing to sacrifice everything to get to my goals, to become a part of the 1%. So yeah, you've got to decide what type of person you are.